you need to play the ace of hearts first from your hand. And then you're going to try and go to him with the king of hearts. Why do you need to do it this way? Anybody know?
In case it's a singleton heart in the West.
Okay. What if West has a singleton heart? Now, I think that's unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. And I say that only because if West had a singleton heart, that might have been the opening lead, right? Now, if they're leading king of clubs from, say, king, queen, jack, they have a natural lead there. So they might choose that instead of the heart. But go ahead and lead the ace of hearts first. If lefty has a singleton, your ace will live, right? If lefty had a singleton heart and you played the ace first and then you played a heart toward the king, why is this superior?
You find out if he's played.
If they rough up, you don't play your king, and you make the hand, right? They make the hand for you. It's actually a bad idea for them to rough up in front. Why is that? Because you have a heart to lose all day anyhow, right? You have ace third opposite king third. If they want to rough before you play an honor, let them rough. Pitch your heart from the board. Your small one, right? And then if they follow to the second heart, you go ahead and play the king so you can be on dummy to rough your club. That's why we're doing it that way. If you played a heart to the king first and they had a singleton, okay, it would live and you'd be able to rough your club. But now what I'm afraid about is if I lay down the ace of hearts from my hand and it gets roughed, now they've roughed a winner, not a loser, right? We want them, as you said, we want them roughing air. We want them roughing something that isn't a winner for us anyhow. So truthfully, the best thing they can do here is if you lead a heart toward your king, rather than roughing in front as a defender, they would actually be better off to pitch. They probably should pitch a club. Yeah. Since that's what you're going to try and rough in hand, and then maybe they can over rough. Now, again, when these conditions are in place, you may not be able to make the hand, but we want you to give yourself the best chance. All right, so hopefully left-hand opponent has two hearts, because that will make things much easier. And you play a heart to the king at trick 5, and then so what do we do at trick 6? Well, we rough another club, right? With our 5. Hopefully don't get over roughed. And then at trick 7, one more dummy entry left, right? Ace of diamonds. And then the moment of truth at trick 8 where you try to rough one more club. And by the time you get to trick 8, you may have an idea whether or not this is going to work. I would say when you rough your club here, if the queen of clubs doesn't fall, you're probably home, aren't you? Yeah. Because they've presumably led king from king queen, and so when the queen falls, that's probably their last club, right? So if you rough the club, now it could be that they have they started with king queen jack X, and they might play the queen earlier just to scare you into thinking that you can't rough one more club safely. But do you have any other choice?
Well, but if you're counting the total number of clubs, maybe the right-hand opponent shows out. I'm not sure. I'd have to do
when you go to rough your club, you would love to see your right-hand opponent show out, because that means your left-hand. The earlier your right-hand opponent shows out, the greater the likelihood your left-hand opponent is going to have to follow to all these clubs, and your right-hand opponent can't rough anything, right? Because they have no trumps. So this is a game where you can overcome almost any lie of the trump suit.
So do you really think, I don't always think about, what if they split 4-0? I'm a lazy one. Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about it.
Yeah.
And you get away with not thinking about it because it doesn't happen very often. Right. And so you almost never have to pay off to that. my guess is, you know, you would probably have, if you went down in 4 spades because you were a little bit careless at tricks 1 and 2 about guarding against something bad happening, then you would probably have a fair amount of company going down in 4 spades, people who wouldn't recognize the line that they need to take to try and overcome this break. This kind of thing becomes really important at team play, because the last thing you want to do at team play is go down in a makeable game, yeah, because you didn't think it all the way through. So. Sometimes you get to a point on a hand when you're playing it. You know, I think the hands that you play where you have a lot of options of how you play it are a lot harder, because if you don't have information from the bidding from your opponents, you don't necessarily know what the best line is to adopt. On the other hand, you run into some other hands that it's pretty much a binary situation. Well, I need the queen of diamonds on side. That's the only way I get to 9th trick. The only way I make 3 now. I have nothing else resembling a 9th trick in 3 now. I have 8 tricks, and I need to finesse the queen of diamonds, right? Well, in that case, you take your finesse and you hope it works. If there's only one line of play to make a hand, assume the cards lie the way you need them to lie and take that approach. Because sometimes I think people, you know, I think people give up, you know, or they start fooling around trying something else that is totally hopeless. But sometimes there really is only one line that will work. So.
Isn't this a good idea even if you aren't planning for the 4-0 split, because doesn't it result in an overtrick if it?
No, I don't. I mean,
no?
I don't really see any way to an 11th trick here, right?
I see. Oh.
I mean, all we're doing is we're changing. We have, you know, the idea is to have 6 spade winners, and we're just changing the way we arrive at those 6, right? Our normal approach would be to draw our trumps so that the opponents can't rough out any of our other honors, right? That's yeah. So we're just scoring 3 small spades by way of rough, rather than, you know, just laying them down when the opponents have no more trumps and saying, well, these are all trumps, they're good, right? So just a different path to 10 tricks. This is a pretty straightforward hand in that regard. I would have, if anybody made an over trick on this hand, I would really wonder how that happened. That would take some impressively bad defense.
Yes.
Of which we are all capable, right?
We are all capable of it. We can do it.
We are definitely capable.
I did it on Tuesday. I gave my partner gave me the wrong count in the suit, and I gave the opponents a rough and slough. Everybody in the room was in 4 hearts making 4. Our opponents were in 4 hearts making 5. So, any questions about that? So it's a lot to think about, but I think it's you know, it's worth kind of cycling through that. You know, don't you know, just because something like a bad trump split happens, yeah, you may have to change gears. You may have to go to a plan that is very different from what you intended to do. But you know, sometimes these hands can still be made. So you know, don't throw in the towel when that happens. Couple other things in this theme of being prepared, and we're going to come back to bidding a bit. And this is a very simple one, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But this hand is on 164. And this is a discussion that we have had before. We haven't talked about it a whole lot because most of you are comfortable opening a no trump when you hold a 5-card major. But there's still some people out there who are reluctant to do this. But the question we're asking is, with this hand, 16 high card points, balanced, 5-3-3-2 shape, but your 5-card suit is hearts. Should you open a heart or should you open a no trump?
No trump. Well agreed.
So we got one heart versus one no. Even if your partnership agreement, even if you're playing with a partner who refuses to open a no trump with a 5-card major, or even if you are that partner, you have to do something different here. You cannot open this hand one heart. Let me take that back. If you open this hand one heart, there is a very good chance that something will happen from which you cannot recover. If you open a heart and partner raises hearts, you'll be fine. If you open a heart and partner gives you a 2/1, so you're going to game, you will be fine. You will recover. All right? If you open a heart and partner bids a spade, and that is entirely possible, if not likely, because you're relatively short in spades, the question I ask you is, what are you going to do next? And the answer is you're going to lie.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lie if you don't have to. How do you describe this hand after partner responds a spade? This is why you can't just recklessly open a heart,
Don't show them.
you know, see your nice 5-card heart and say, oh, it's a heart opening, and not think about your rebid, right? You have a balanced hand. So you would probably be inclined to bid no trump next, right? But if we go a heart, a spade, a no trump, what have you shown?
12 to 14.
You've shown 12 to 14 and you have 16. Your hand's way too good to be rebidding one no. So that's out. You say, oh, okay, well, it's better than that. How about I bid 2 no? Well, you're not that good, right? 2 no is 18 and you have 16. So that's flawed. You want to bid a 3-card minor? Well, partner's going to think you have 4. That's kind of weird. You know, you can save yourself all of this heartache by just opening a no trump. I think this particularly applies to the occasions when you have a balanced 16. Because I can tell you what I would do if this is my hand. That hand I would open a heart. All right. So if I've decided to open a heart, clearly I think I don't have a rebid problem when partner bids a spade now. So what am I doing next?
You're going to lie and say you have 18 to 19.
Exactly. Good 17 counts are worth the upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I play with one of my partners. Our no trump openings are actually, you know, we've basically built and we've officially made the agreement what we do anyhow, and we announce our no trumps as good 14 to 17. What do we mean by that? What's a good 14? Not 4-3-3. 4-3-3 shape is a bad 14. So for 4-3-3, we won't open a no trump. We'll just open our suit. If we open a no trump with 17, we normally don't have a 5-card suit. Because a 5-card suit improves the hand, it means there's an extra pot. You know, whether we play the suit or if we play a no trump, it's a greater likelihood of a source of tricks, right? So whether it's a minor or a major, if we have 17 and a 5-card suit, we always plan to rebid 2 now. So, and there's nothing wrong with that practice. So now, if it's again 4-3-3 17, that's just a no trump. 4-4-3-2 17, just a regular no trump. You're allowed to have a max, but
So with that shape, you would open a 14
I would.
count? With that shape, you'd open a 14 count as
As a no trump.
One.
Yeah. Take away king from that hand, and I would open a no trump. But now I think the hand is potentially too good. So we're going to treat it like 18. And again, this and I would argue that this hand right here is a better hand. And we looked at some of this back in week 1. Some of Woolsey's got that example at the very beginning of the book in that introductory chapter. Woolsey's got the hand with, he's got the 4 triple 3 15, and then he's got the 14 count, but it's got the 5 card diamond suit to ace queen 10. And we said, which hand has the better playing strength? The 14 count with the 5 card suit. So yeah, so to me, this hand is better than a lot of 18 counts that you might pick up. Better than a 4 triple 3 18 count. So yeah, always give yourself, you have the right to upgrade and downgrade. But the important thing is, whatever you have decided, just make sure that you've thought about this at the beginning of the auction before you open this hand. Because if you open this hand 1 heart and then partner bids a spade and all of a sudden you realize you're stuck, that's when you have a problem, right? So, any other questions on that? There's really not a whole lot to say about that, other than what we just said. So.